Teresa Swan-Ailey, whatever name you gave her, was validated by her.
Correct.
Right? Okay. And based on another interview with Reggie Wright, he always saw them, but away from everybody talking. It was almost like it wasn't a public relationship. It was more like a private relationship they had.
Right, right. When you look back at the activities around Death Row, and specifically Suge Knight and his entourage of gang members, they were always out front and center. That was the image that Suge Knight wanted for his record company. Reggie Wright explained to us that the relationship with Poochie was something completely different. Poochie would stay in the cut. Poochie and Suge would always go off on their own to have private conversations. We knew he was already wanted for at least one murder, and so he was the kind of guy that you would go to if you needed something like that done.
Is it fair to say that on this list of all these faces, the toughest guys on this list, he would be one of them?
These are your killers.
Okay.
Right here.
Got it.
Right? These are your CEOs in a shot caller.
Got it.
But these guys, at the top of the food chain, and because this whole thing never got dealt with responsibly, these two guys suffer the consequences.
Got it. So what happens next? So now you know Poochie's it. You guys make a letter that, hey, he testified and he's already told us right before he died. And even on the letter, you put the date of the letter was April 1st, 1998, meaning April Fool's.
Yeah, I think we were just trying to be a little bit too clever, but ultimately it worked. She reads the letter. That's a ruse. It's a fictitious confession letter that was signed by him and given to an attorney before he was shot and killed in 2002.
On a motorcycle.
On a motorcycle, driving up the street. Most of these guys have all, expired. So we show her the letter. She says, wow, that's exactly what happened. We tell her, well, why don't you tell us what happened in your words? She explains her solicitation with Suge Knight and how he had paid her and how he had told her to get a hold of him and commit the murder. So we corroborated her statements, and now, for all intent and purposes, effectively have solved both these murders because we have corroborated co-conspirators that are confessing. So that's where we go to the department. We say, listen, we've got all the goods. The department then has their attorneys reach out to Voletta Wallace in the estate and say, listen, we've got new information in the case. It undermines and refutes your civil case. You can continue to pursue that and spend money, but this is where we're going with it. Voletta Wallace, an attorney, hearing that, they decide that they're going to retract their lawsuit. It's dismissed, and the whole case.
Done. $400 million.
Whole case.
Never happened.
Whole case goes away.
You've said that you believe behind all of this is Puffy. You've said this yourself with $1 million, whether it was $1 million, whether it was $500,000. Tell us a little bit about that.
What I believe happened with Puffy was that, again, I don't think he wanted this conflict to get worse than it already was. And if he could figure out a way to quell that, he would. In fact, we have a statement saying that Puffy had reached out to the members of the Nation of Islam to approach Suge Knight and say, hey, let's have a peace treaty, let's squash this thing, but Suge wanted nothing to do with it. So he was trying to get out from under this imposing threat, knowing that Suge held him responsible for the murder of his friend, and whenever he would come to LA, he knew that Suge Knight was trying to hunt him down. We have a reported incident, an investigation where Suge Knight had accosted one of his associates at a Christmas party in Los Angeles, and they beat the living shit out of this guy. He almost lost his eye in an attempt for these guys to gain knowledge about where he lived in Los Angeles. So he undoubtedly becomes aware of the fact that these guys are actively hunting me down. They're kidnapping, assaulting people. My life's definitely in harm's way. And so I think that out of that desperation and fear, he turned to the streets and said, can you guys kind of handle this for me? Because he knew that if you're going to deal with these gang members, then the best thing to do is get their natural enemies to do the work for you.
And is that the $1 million? $1 million was on the...
According to Keefe D, he says there was a kind of a loose conversations at Greenblatt's up on Sunset in which Puffy allegedly tells Keefe D, listen, I'm gonna, whatever it takes to get these guys off my back, I need you to take care of them. He says we wanted $1 million. Diddy's like, whatever. But again, I have to couch that the understanding that he was in fear for his life.
I fully get that.
Yeah.
I fully get that. So, but the $1 million is from him, but you don't know really if it's $1 million or it's a $500,000.
I think it's just boastful talking.
Okay, got it.
You know, it's like if I see a really nice car that I like to purchase from you, and I just, man, I'll give you $1 million for that.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of like loose.
So how about the part where Zip gives him the gun? He says, listen, right now's the time to do it. Everyone's in town. Go to 662. Here's the gun that I have. He leaves it to him with the car.
Right.
He gives him the gun. And then afterwards, when they talk on a call, he says, was that us? And they're on the call together listening, and Zip says, yes, that was us.
Keefe says, yes, that was us.
Yes, that was us.
Yeah.
Keefe says that was us. And then he says, we'll take care, Zip says, we'll take care of the money. 6 weeks later, he's not getting the money. And, you know, he's finding out maybe he didn't get paid. And then afterwards, he meets with an associate of P. Diddy, Puffy, saying, yeah, we did pay, but Zip kept it. And then when they met, is that all been verified that maybe he did keep the money or they did not pay?
We don't have anything to validate other than his claim.
Got it.
He's claiming that he had people that were closely associated with Eric, that with Zip, that told him, hey, Puffy paid $500,000 and Zip kept the money. So that's his claim. We do know that these two people do exist and that they were associated with him, but those people have never verified that. So that unpaid debt was definitely never collected.
So why were you removed from the case in 2009, or a year before your retirement? Why did they? I mean, obviously the show is called Unsolved, right, on Netflix. Why was it like, listen, you're going a little too deep with this. Stop what you're doing. We're gonna remove you and go a different direction.
For the LAPD, once we bring them the confession of Keefe D, their attitude is like, okay, well, that's Las Vegas's case. Pass all the information you have on Tupac's murder to Las Vegas. Let them deal with Keefe D. Let them follow up and handle their own murder case. With Biggie's case, now the LAPD is out from under this massive lawsuit. They're breathing a sigh of relief. They've just spent millions of dollars conducting this investigation with wiretaps and narcotics buys and all of this. You know, it was a large operation. And at that point in time, they realized prosecution-wise, it's going to be very, very difficult to take the remaining co-conspirators, which at that time really consisted of Keefe D, Eric Martin, and Diddy, and prosecute these guys based on the sole testimony of a convicted drug-dealing gang member. So they realized that it's going to be very, very tough to prosecute these people. We've spent enough time and energy on this. Greg, you're going to get reassigned back to cold case homicides. Everybody else go back to your respective agencies, and they just...
That's it.
Yeah.
But it's nothing bigger than that. It wasn't like, hey, let's try to find out more. This is going to get us in trouble. We don't want to get more negativity behind it. Or maybe even some cops internally are trying to protect some people that are living. Any of those things could be possibilities, or no?
Not for me.
Okay.
Not at all. I think it's just simply they were kind of indifferent about it. They're like, hey, Valletta Wallace sued us. We spent a lot of money trying to defend this lawsuit. We've spent a whole lot of money trying to pursue the truth. We found that, and now we're just going to let sleeping dogs lie because we can't prosecute the case. You know, for all intent and purposes, it's not practical with Biggie's murder. And so, you know, you've got an ex-girlfriend who's known to commit perjury, and she's going to take the stand and be the sole witness against Suge Knight, saying that because this guy's dead, remember? And so now you've got this, you know, relationship between the two, and she's the only person you can put on the stand to, you know, point the finger at him. It's just not going to work out in court. And same thing with Tupac's murder. You know, these guys just don't have any credibility insofar as getting on the stand and testifying because of their backgrounds and their previous, you know, convictions and status as gang members and established perjurers. It's just complicated. And so
even though you have this much evidence, it's still complicated. I mean, what that then tells a person watching, how are they protected at this point that you know this happened? You're not talking about a small brand. This guy was growing at a level that was pretty wild, and you're not talking about. I'm not.